Welcome to Open House with Jerry Cornejo, where we feature people, places, and things that are in the news or who should be in the news. And this program airs nationwide and in 7 other Asian countries, including Mongolia and Seoul, Korea. So we are in different time zones. Well, not too much, 1 or 2 hour difference. And we are going to be discussing today inside the Bureau of Customs. And we will be seeing it from the point of view of from the top of the pyramid, because we have with us now a former, 3-term representative from Muntinlupa, and he was also a senatorial candidate in 2010. And a year later, he was appointed as commissioner of the Bureau of Customs until December of 2013. So we have with us Mr. Rufy Biazon. Rufy, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
Okay, ngayon, apparently, lagi kong sinasabi nga ito, in fact, we were discussing this earlier, you have all the qualifications to be a good customs commissioner. I mean, public perception. Sabi ng mga tao, sabi ng mga media, this guy is straight, hindi ito tulisan, matalino ito, he's a good executive, he has all the skills. And siguro ito rin ang nakita ng presidente. Si President Noynoy, sabi niya, teka muna, tingnan nga natin to. Rufy Biazon, he's got all the qualities to be a good commissioner, to be a good customs commissioner. And of course, it's one of the most sensitive positions or bureaus sa ating lipunan. And isa rin dyan I mean, it's also one of the biggest, what do you call it, profit centers, money earning, revenue collection. Okay. Now, I can imagine, pag pasok mo rin ngayon, we were discussing earlier, buti na pag-usapan na natin to, well, you didn't go in blindly. You knew you were going into a den of thieves. In other words, hindi ka naman nabulaga, hindi ba? I mean, you knew exactly what you were going up against, and I'm sure you had a battle plan. I mean, since your dad is, I'm sure growing up as a in a military family, I mean, you're very used to mga military strategies. Ngayon, how long were you at the helm of the Bureau of Customs?
Yes, I stayed there for 2 years and 2 months.
2 years and 2 months?
Yes, until I resigned. Yung resignation ko naman had nothing to do with my function and performance as Customs Commissioner. No? So, sa pag-alis ko doon, may mga naiwan din tayong mga programa na sinusulong pa sana para sa reform. Dahil when I first entered the Bureau of Customs, when I was appointed by the President, I knew what I was getting into. Because when he offered me the job and I was considering it, of course, I reviewed what the function is all about, what the problems and challenges that the Bureau was facing, so that when I finally accepted the offer, I knew what I was getting into. I knew the risks.
Okay. Ngayon, I'm just curious, did you ask for this job or medyo nabulaga ka sa, me, Customs Commissioner? Or you knew you had, naririnig mo na baka i-appoint ka ron? O hiningi mo ba yung position na yan?
No, I never asked for the position. Kahit nung nasa Kongreso ako noon, hindi ako nangialam sa issues ng customs.
Okay.
In fact, nung nag-offer ako sa Presidente ng serbisyo, ibang ahensya yung tinukoy ko sa kanya.
What? May we know what?
I was looking at the Department of Tourism.
Okay.
But this was the post that he offered to me. And yun nga, pinag-aralan natin. No? And yung challenge, I felt the challenge. And the prospect of carrying out a mission, no? Lalo na itong mission na linisin ng Bureau of Customs, ay isang, sa tingin ko, worthwhile
of course,
battle to fight. Kaya tinanggap ko yung offer niya.
Now, what did the President tell you? I mean, I'm sure he sort of explained to you. Hindi mo ba tinanong, Mr. President, why me? Wala ka bang ganong question? Or, yes sir, kagad, I accept. Or, I will study it. Hindi ba niya sinabi sa iyo kung bakit ka napili? I mean, I'm sure so many, people were after your position.
That's true.
Di ba? So, I guess nagkaroon siya na shortlist ka and finally, he made the decision. Where there did you find out that you were being considered? Yung na-shortlist ka, alam mo na? Or talagang na-broadside ka at biglang tinawagan ka ng Presidente? Rufy, hindi ba, Mr. Congressman, ikaw na ang ganun ba?
Well, actually, yung parang nabasa mo yata yung blog ko. I wrote it in my blog.
Okay,
actually.
okay.
But the story is, he called me up from out of the blue.
Okay.
Although nagpasabi na nga ako beforehand kung ano yung interest ko sana. Biglang tumawag siya directly sa akin, sa cellphone ko. And he directly offered the post of Commissioner of Customs. So, sabi ko naman, pag-iisipan ko, Mr. President, and he gave me 2 weeks to think about it. So, I consulted my father, my family, friends, everyone. And then, nung prepared na ako to make a decision, I went back to him and said, I asked for an appointment. So, nag-meet kami, and I asked those questions.
Okay.
Una kong tinanong, Mr. President, why me?
Okay.
Ang sabi niya, marami daw mga rekomendasyon na dumating sa kanya, maraming aplikante, but he decided to select somebody on his own.
Okay.
So, setting aside recommendations and applications, sabi niya, itong pipiliin ko. Sabi niya, kasi kilala naman na niya ako. Sabi niya, I know your capability and I have trust in you. Dahil nagkasama kami sa Kongreso.
Yes.
So sabi niya, kaya pinili kitang gano'n. So, follow-through question. I had several questions bago ko gawa ng desisyon.
Okay.
So next question ko sa kanya was, meron bang nag-suggest sa'yo na ibigay ako? Dahil one thing that I wanted to avoid is merong lalapit sa akin at sasabihin, ako ang responsable, bakit ka nakapasok? Sabi niya, wala. So don't believe anyone who will say na sila ang responsible. It's me alone.
Okay.
And next question ko sa kanya was, Mr. President, ano ang marching orders natin? What do I expect?
Okay.
Actually, as a politician, iniisip ko noon, baka may mga habilin siya. No?
Okay.
Alam mo na.
Ground rules.
Realist ako,
of course.
But basically, ang sinabi lang niya sa akin, Rufy, basta ipatupad natin ang batas, gawa natin ng reforma dyan sa Bureau, just follow the law. Yun lang ang basic na bilin. And I think for me, that was the tipping point.
Of course.
Kasi kung nagkaroon ng parang strings attached, baka it might have been difficult for me to accept the job.
Of course. So maganda.
Last question ko na lang sa kanya was, Mr. President, if I need safety and security, can I rely on you?
Of course.
Because the challenges that we're facing. Sabi niya, you have my back. I will ensure na hindi mo po problemahin yun.
All right.
So that's when I decided, finally, na I will accept the post. No? Pero may isa pa ako nung hiniriging sa kanya. Sabi ko, Mr. President, baka pwede hong sa September na lang after the wedding anniversary.
He talked to you when? June? July?
That was August.
August, okay.
Sabi ko, kasi plano ko sana na to go out of the country dahil yun naman ho yung yearly ginagawa namin ng wife ko. Sabi ko, during the anniversary. Pwedeng after that. So sabi niya, sige, I'll give you a couple more weeks. So, yun ho nangyari na after that, when I assumed office, tuloy-tuloy na ho yun.
Who did you replace? Who was your
former
predecessor?
Commissioner Angelito Alvarez.
Okay.
So, siya po yung nauna sa akin.
Related ba yan kay Hierson?
Parang hindi naman po.
Okay. All right.
So, I assumed office in the September of 2011 and served until December 2013.
Okay. Can you just give us an overview of your first 100 days? Umupo ka na, I'm sure. Okay, ito pala opisina ko. Okay, first, what was the overview of first 100 days?
Well, the first 100 days really, lalo na yung first month, was really spent consulting the different offices of the Bureau, familiarizing myself. Kasi nga, kahit nung nasa Kongreso ako noon, I did not tackle customs issues.
Okay.
Talagang from out of the blue. Literally, some people question nga yung qualification. Sabi, wala namang experience sa customs yan, etc., etc. But I did my best in the first 100 days na malaman lahat ng aspects of customs. And good thing na may mga very much willing naman na mga tao na magturo din sa akin the ins and outs. Actually, yung isa ho doon sa tactics na ginawa ko, some were telling me na immediately palitan mo lahat ng tao. it has logic. No? Yung pag-upo ko, lahat palit. No?
Okay.
It has logic. But sa akin, ang approach na ginawa ko naman, I let them stay, no? As long as, kumbaga, we start on a clean slate, and I observed each of them, yung aking mga tauhan na nasa sa ilalim ko.
How many people are there in the Bureau of Customs?
Well, a total personnel is about 3,500. So
That's
more
the
or
whole
less.
bureau?
That's the whole bureau.
Okay.
So, inobserbahan ko yung mga nasa top leadership. How they are, how they think.
And how many are these, more or less?
Well, sabihin natin siguro, the top 50.
Top 50, okay.
So, muna, kumbaga technically, I milked them technically. So, yung mga technical know-how, kinuha ko muna. At the same time, inaral ko ang ugali ng bawat isa, anong takbo nito, ng isip nito, ano bang morals niya, ano bang values niya. Kasi pagka nasa comfort zone sila, that's the time that you get to see the real person.
Okay.
Kung at the start, biglang sibak ko lahat kagad, no? I would have come in blind. Kasi nga, wala naman akong connection or contact with anyone there. Eh.
Right.
I would have earned enemies immediately. No? And meron kagad mga bubulagin ako kagad. So that was my approach. And I think that enabled me to quickly learn the ins and outs of customs. As well as I took the opportunity to engage in the World Customs Organization. Kasi meron talagang organisasyon ng lahat ng customs offices sa buong mundo. At doon, nakakuha ho tayo ng mga iba't ibang best practices. No? Compare notes, makikita natin yung problema sa ibang bansa, pareho lang rin palang problema natin. Ang maganda noon, yung mga solusyon na nagawa nila, pwedeng i-apply sa atin.
Okay.
So the first 100 days was a lot of studying,
Learning.
as far as I'm concerned, and establishing good rapport with the various stakeholders.
So maganda pa yan, first 100 days. Honeymoon pa yan.
Well, hindi naman ho talaga honeymoon, no, in the sense na may mga na-encounter, doon ko na rin na-encounter agad-agad yung mga kalokohan.
Alright, okay.
Some of them medyo nabigla ako, no? Some of them expected. Halimbawa ho, masyado akong eager beaver noon, kasi isang policy ko is open engagement. So yung cellphone ko ho, I freely give it away, yung number, to anyone and everyone.
Alright.
Maya-maya, nakakatanggap na ako ng mga anonymous tips.
Okay.
Sir,
Intriga na.
Initially ho, parang ang nakakatulong pa eh. Sabihin, sir, itong shipment na ito, may karga yan, o ganito yung shipment, may diferensya, etc. etc. Ako naman, eager beaver, I acted on it.
Okay.
Utos ko kaagad sa intelligence or sa enforcement no, na aksyonan.
Okay.
Maraming times, totoo, may diferensya.
Okay.
Pero alam niyo, later on, na-discover ko naman through our Intel network
Yes.
no, na nagagamit na pala ako. Kasi isa hong paraan dyan, kunyari ho, kayo yung suspect, nagte-text. Ang ginagawa niyan, sinasabi niya doon sa importer o sa broker ng shipment, sabi niya, kung di mo ko bigyan ng parte ko,
huli ka.
ipapahuli ko yan. And his way of proving, no, proof of life, sabi niya, his way of proving it is by texting me, the commissioner, anonymous. Kasi nga, yung commissioner, eager eh. So, ako naman, dahil nga natanggap ko yan at ayaw kong malusutan, pinapa-aksyonan ko. So, as far as the importer is concerned, may nag-threat sa kanya na, mapapa-alert ko yung shipment mo. And then true enough, biglang na-alert nga. Galing pa sa office of the commissioner.
Right.
Mayroon siya ngayong nakapag-proof of life ngayon. So, inaabutan na. Nagagamit.
You really got into a den of thieves, ha? Talagang lion's den.
Ganun ka-complicated kumisan at saka ganun ka-creative ang mga. Kaya from then on, nung natutunan ko ng ganun na nangyayari, sabi ko, no more anonymous tips. Anybody who submits information, kailangan identified, documented. Kasi nagagamit eh.
And I suppose, mamaya pag-usapan natin to, siguro may diversion din dyan.
Meron
yung
din yan.
Huli ito, that's only 10%. Lusot yung 90. Dito nakafocus si di ba? Well, that's the way the ball bounces there. But we'll get deeper into what is happening in the Bureau of Customs. And we'll also talk about the former commissioner's recommendations on how to fix up the matter in the short term and in the long term. We have with us the former commissioner of the Bureau of Customs, Mr. Rufy Biazon. This is Open House with Jerry Cornejo, and we'll be back right after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Open House with Jerry Cornejo, where we feature people, places, and things that are in the news or who should be in the news. Well, ang guest po natin ngayon is the former commissioner of the Bureau of Customs. He was also a 3-term congressman sa representative po ng Muntinlupa. And later on, we'll ask about his future plans and if it's going to be back to Muntinlupa or maybe another try for the Senate. Ngayon, balik po tayo sa customs, Mr. Biazon, Rufy Biazon. So, what did you finally learn sa Bureau of Customs na dapat pong ayusin talaga?
Well, una, dapat lumampas tayo doon sa palitan lang ng tao.
Okay.
Ibig sabihin, minsan, while we're not saying na hindi dapat gawin, pero dapat talagang gawin, parusahan yung guilty, tanggalin yung corrupt, pero hindi tayo dapat huminto doon. Kasi nangyayari lang naman lahat itong mga kalokohan na ito dahil yung sistema enables it or allows it. Kasi yung batas yung ginagamit natin dito sa customs natin ay isang batas na unang pinasa noong 1957.
Okay.
Iba pa ho ang environment nun eh. Iba ang teknolohiya. So, lalo na sa trend ho ngayon, sa buong daigdig, meron hong tinatawag na Revised Kyoto Convention. Yan po yung standard ng customs administration sa buong daigdig. Hindi kasi compliant yung batas natin doon. Kasi ngayon po, ang orientation ng mga customs sa buong daigdig is more on trade facilitation. Mas madali ang pagpasok ng mga kalakal. Less ang procedures.
Okay.
Samantalang yung batas natin,
that's now. Okay.
Samantalang yung batas natin configured pa doon sa mas maraming procedures, mas maraming hakbang na dadaanan na nagiging ugat ho ng korupsyon.
So in layman's terms, maraming red tape.
Ganon, red tape.
Okay,
kasi yan ho yung breeding ground ng corruption. Kasi yung importer o yung broker, meron siyang matinding pangangailangan yung maipadaan yung kanyang kargamento. Expedite. Yun namang customs, merong otoridad, merong kapangyarihan. So, konting pahirap, sumusuka, lumuluwa agad yung negosyante. Kaya nga, sa ibang bansa, automated, computerized ang proseso, binawasan ang mga hakbang, para po mas madali yun at hindi lang sa mas mapadali ang negosyo, mabawasan pa yung opportunities for corruption.
Did you make that suggestion to the executive or to the legislative branch?
Actually, ongoing nga ho yung, una yung pagbabago ng batas, ongoing ho yung konsiderasyon. Although nung nakaraang kongreso, yung 15th Congress, hindi nila napasa yun. So ngayon 16th Congress, tinatalakay ulit. Yung computerization program, sinimulan din ho namin yun at ongoing din. Hopefully nga, mai-sustain nitong bagong pamunuan ngayon sa Bureau. So, dapat lumampas tayo doon sa pugot ulo, kumbaga. Kasi nga ho, palitan mo yung isang tao, yung papalit, hindi ho natin magagarantiya na hindi rin matatalisod eh.
Because of what? Because of the temptation?
Temptation din ho, Halimbawa, ang focus naman ho natin, ang kaya nating disiplinahin na agad-agaran yung mga nasa hanay ng customs.
Okay.
Pero ang involved ho dyan, hindi lang naman yung taga-customs eh. Meron pang hanay ng mga broker, may hanay ng mga importer. Na kuminsan, kung meron kang tuwid na customs, kung ang mag-aalok naman yung importer or broker, baluktot yung importer or broker.
Right.
Sila ang naghahanap ng paraan para makadaya, hindi rin natin ma-address agad yung problema. Kaya nga, pumupunta tayo doon sa environment, doon sa sistemang pumapalibot sa kanila. Kasi doon naman naglalaro yung mga players na yan.
So in other words, the way I see it here, Mr. Biazon, pag napatupad mo yung vision mo na palitan yung sistema, mababawasan ang korupsyon. Mabawasan by what? By 50%, 90%? Sa tansya nyo?
By siguro as much as 90%.
90%?
Lalo na kung full automation natin yan. Kasi halimbawa yung paraan ng pag-smuggle. Isang paraan yung ginagamit, recycling or pagpepeke ng import permit.
Okay.
Pwedeng peke o kaya pwedeng nagamit na, gagamitin ulit. Kasi may papel yung ginagamit. Kung mag-full automation na full computerization, wala nang papel na permit. Ibig sabihin, kung yung ahensya, for example, Food and Drug Administration, na siyang nag-i-issue ng ng permit, ng import permit, ay electronic ang transmission niya ng import permit sa customs, wala nang pepekein, wala nang i-forge, wala nang i-recycle kasi diretso na sa system eh.
No, but if there's some corrupt guy there somewhere along the line who has access to these electronic communications, pwede pa rin niyang gawin.
Meron namang, yan naman ay madali na rin lagyan ng security features.
Okay.
No? Pero gaya no, kung electronically pumasok na ang permit, no, at least sa system ng customs, naka-tag na siya as used na yung permit. Hindi na pwedeng gamitin ulit.
So mababawasan talaga.
Mababawasan talaga. Plus yung number of steps na dadaanan, no, yung mga requirements. Alam naman natin lahat siguro kahit na sa ordinary transaction at the level of the local government, pag marami kasing requirements, yan yung breeding ground ng aregluhan eh. So automation, pagbabawas ng procedures, bahagi yan ng pagbabago sa sistema para ma-address natin yung problem of corruption. Kasi palitan mo yung commissioner, palitan mo yung collector, yung papalit mo, siguro, lalo na kung mahina ang moral values ng papalit, di balik lang din sa dati.
Sir, hindi ba customs yung na balita sa media na janitor ba yun, naka-Porsche?
Well, ano yun?
Yun ba yun?
Medyo na-twist na ng ano yan, sa reporting. Hindi naman siya janitor, no? Pero clerk. Empleyado siya, clerk.
Pero mababa talaga ang ano niya. Minimum wage yata siya eh.
Mababa ang kanyang rank. Nahuli siya, kaya siya nahuli kasi siya ay nagpaputok ng baril.
Yes,
no?
yes.
Hinabol niya yung nakabanggaan niya.
Road rage.
Alam niyo ba kung anong malas niya doon? Yung hinabol niya ng mga kabataan, ang magulang kaibigan ko.
Okay.
So anyway, nahuli siya na gano'n. Ano. Ang kanyang paliwanag doon or palusot niya is hindi naman sa kanyang kotse. Kasi nung tinignan niya yung rehistro, wala sa pangalan niya.
Okay.
Nasa pangalan na isang car dealer.
Okay.
Ang paliwanag niya, kaya minamaneho niya yung sasakyan kasi nagsa-sideline daw siya na nag-aahente ng kotse.
Okay.
So yun yung official na paliwanag. So anyway, dinismiss din namin, kinasuhan na rin namin siya, dinismiss siya for his behavior, no, dahil nga namaril siya and everything. Yun lang dun sa pagmamay-ari ng Porsche, hindi naman na kakuha ng sapat na ebidensya sa kanya nga. Kasi umamin yung car dealer na sa kanya pa yung kotse. Yung
okay. Another controversial thing na dito gulat na gulat ako rito, paano pwede mangyari ito? Ilan 2,000 containers ba yun na nawala? Nawawala?
Yes, yan yung, well, ang tawag doon nawala. No?
Nawala?
Yan yung nangyari doon sa predecessor ko.
So this did not happen during your watch?
Nung nangyari yan, doon sa panahon ng nauna sa akin.
Who is?
Commissioner Alvarez.
Okay.
And na-pressure siya na magbitiw dahil sa issue na yun. Tapos kaya ako pumasok.
So hindi nangyari yun during your watch? Okay. So doon ako, but did you know that the impression was it happened during your watch?
Well, yun nga, unfortunately, yun kasi pag pinag-uusapan sa media, di ba? Pero nangyari yun sa panahon bago. Kaya ako pumasok dahil doon.
Okay. So now that's clear. That's very good. Now, it's clear to that wasn't clear to me before and I think I'm well versed with what's happening in media. Sa bagay, binabasa ko. So people, yung pong pagkawala ng 2,000 plus containers was not during the time of Commissioner Rufy Biazon.
Kaya siguro nagkaroon ng impression kasi pumasok na ako tapos palagi akong tinatanong. Parang follow up. And nangyari yun sa panahon na nauna sa akin. Nung pagpasok ko naman, may isinulong akong programa na para hindi na mangyari yun.
Okay.
Pinapasok ko, pinopost ko yung installation ng GPS tracking device sa mga container vans.
Okay. Okay.
Ginawa ng mga pag-aaral yun, no? At mayroong mga prospective service providers na pre-qualify. Ang kulang na lang namin noon yung approval ng Department of Finance. No? Unfortunately, nung time na umalis ako ng Bureau of Customs, hindi pa na-aprobahan. No? Pero yun sana ang sagot doon sa kung paano hindi na mangyari yung 2,000 containers.
Hindi na nahanap yun?
Actually, literally, yung container vans nahanap.
Yun laman ang nawala?
Yun laman ang nawala.
So nahanap naman?
Yung containers kasi, ang may-ari ng container, yung shipping line.
Okay.
Ngayon,
so just one shipping line is involved with all of this?
Several.
Okay.
Ngayon, ang nangyari dyan, yung mga importers, parang inuupahan yung container.
Okay.
May deposito. Ngayon, yung mga container van na yan, may deposito yan. May nag-claim ng deposito. So may trail. Kaya yung mga sinampahan ng kaso, may mga sinampahan ng kaso tungkol dyan.
Alright. Okay.
Iba doon, yung mga na-trace sila dahil nga kinlaim nila yung deposito ng container. So yung container vans, na-recover. Yung laman ang hindi na nahanap.
Now, anong estimate? How much was lost because of this 2,000? Anong low estimate?
Well, sabihin mo
In
lang,
customs duties,
generally siguro, anong halaga. Yung custom duties, depende kasi sa laman.
Okay,
Iba-ibang rate. Pero sabihin mo na, kunyari, ang value ng isang container van, ang laman is minimum 1 million pesos.
Okay.
You multiply lang by 2,000.
So, 200.
Minimum. Minimum.
Billion.
Malaking halaga yon dahil value ng mga laman yun.
Right. Ngayon, what is your main accomplishment as Customs Commissioner during your watch? Ano pong nagawa nyo na you will say na which really contributed to the betterment of the Bureau of Customs? Ano pong nagawa
yung
nyo?
pagsulong ng modernization. No? Kasi nagkaroon kami ng strategic plan for the Bureau of Customs na merong three-pronged reform program. No? Yung modernization ng policy, which is the law, at saka yung mga procedures, modernization ng equipment, adoption ng newer technologies, and of course yung improvement ng human resources, no? As far as training, capabilities, at saka yung moral reformation. So yun yung sinulong ko nung time na yan. And I would say that there, based on feedback galing sa stakeholders, na isa doon sa major changes was the change in culture. Kasi ang naging orientation ko sa mga palagi kong ni-espouse noon at what I was preaching, was that we are a service agency. We are not merely border guards. Kasi dati ang attitude ng mga nasa customs is that
Bantay kami.
kami. Sa akin, parang nire-orient ko sila na tayo ay isang service agency na yung performance natin ng duty translates to better revenue. Better revenue translates to more services by government. Kaya ang isa doon sa mga pinasok ko na regular activities namin during our anniversary, my birthday, are so mga sa civilian private sector ang tawag nila CSR, di ba? Ginawa namin 'yon, no? We engaged Gawad Kalinga, we engaged services in poverty-stricken areas para yung orientation ng tao, ng mga taga-customs na may value yung ginagawa namin dito. Hindi lang kami nagbabantay at nangongolekta, kundi service to the country.
So this is the first time this was done?
Well, sabi nila, ng mga kasamahan namin doon, and sustained naman namin during my time. So, aside from the three-pronged program na we were pushing for, unfortunately, yung iba doon, medyo medium to long-term ang implementation. Most especially yung culture ng service. Kasi yung just taking care of our clients, we call them clients, yung mga importers and exporters, is a major step. Plus yung knowing the value of the work that we do in relation to the service that is given by government to the constituency, to the general public. Malaking step na yon towards achieving reform within the Bureau.
Okay, ngayon, when we come back, pag-usapan naman natin, without a doubt, you still want to help the President and of course ang bayan natin. Ngayon, ilang taon na lang, 2 taon na lang si Presidente Noynoy. So, pag-usapan natin what he could possibly do regarding the Bureau of Customs in his last 2 years that will be a game changer. Okay? So we have former Customs Commissioner Rufy Biazon with us, and we'll be back right after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Open House with Jerry Corneo, where we feature people, places, and things that are in the news or should be in the news. And I'm sure, a lot of people are curious, myself included, about what really happened at the Bureau of Customs during the watch of former Customs Commissioner Rufy Biazon, who had all the qualifications of becoming the best or a very, very good Customs Commissioner. But in a couple of years, he resigned. Ngayon, pag-usapan lang natin very quickly, Was your resignation because of what the President said in the State of the Nation address, or was it for any other reason?
Well, my reason for resignation is not related to me being Commissioner of Customs. In fact, after the President's SONA, wherein he criticized the Bureau of Customs, I immediately offered my resignation to him. And he said, no, I still have confidence in you. You stay on. So nanatili ako doon. Yung pagbibitiw ko ay may kinalaman sa ibang issue na hindi sa customs related.
May we know what it's about?
Well, there was an issue about the PDAF. Of course, it's going to be now a battle in the courts about this. No?
Kinasuhan ka ba?
Well, we were part of the COA report.
Okay.
I refrain from commenting further on it. Sa ano na lang kami, sa proper venue. But it did not have any connection with my tenure as a Commissioner of Customs. So, nanghinayang lang rin ako na marami pang nabibitin. Pero sabi nga sa akin, you did not have to resign. Sabi kasi una, wala namang case filed against you. Second, it's not related to your office as Commissioner of Customs. Pero sabi ko, ang pinaniniwalaan ko, public office is a public trust.
Yes.
And once that there is such a question, lalo na itong position ko na sensitive post, and presidential appointee, sabi ko, I want to spare the President from any issue that might be thrown at him in relation to me.
So sa madaling salita, delikadesa ito.
Well, delikadesa.
Delikadesa na nga. Okay, now, the President has 2 more years left. Do you still consult with him? Kinokonsulta ka pa ba niya about customs? Are you still very much in touch? Or?
Well, part of delikadesa, mayroon ng commissioner na nakaupo. So unless I am asked, I won't venture anymore to take steps na parang ipasok pa. Ang ginawa ko na lang, whatever pending initiatives I had, I turned it over to the new commissioner. Nasa sa kanila yun ngayon, kung ipo-pursue nila or not. If they take another tack, then that's their call. I explained to them kung ano ang rationale behind these initiatives, so it's really up to them. So sa akin ngayon, at this point, private citizen, siyempre, unless I am asked, I won't venture into commenting on it. Pero kung in the future, meron akong pagkakataon, lalo na if I return to legislation, then siyempre, meron na akong panibagong advocacy ngayon. Because in the past, nung nasa Congress ako, ang focus ko was on defense and security issues.
Okay.
So, ngayon, exposure ko dito, I think makakatulong din tayo in terms of policy crafting.
Of course, definitely. I mean, I can see it happening already. Pero ngayon, siguro ganito na lang, let's just extend our imagination a bit. President Rufy Biazon, gusto mong ayusin ang Bureau of Customs. You have 2 years left. Anong unahin mong gawin? Anong gagawin mong una-una?
At this point,
what
needs to be done is to pass the amendment to the Tariff and Customs Code.
Is that ongoing? Is that ongoing? Nakasalang na yan?
Yes.
Okay.
So, there is sufficient time to pass it into law. It could be a legacy of the Aquino administration. In fact, yun yung nilalabi ko nga sana before the SONA, na kung i-mention ng customs, sana sabihin na yung Tariff and Customs Code Amendment. It will make us compliant to world standards and it will address corruption issues. So, may pasasana yun. That's one. Second, to put in a wide support for the modernization initiatives. Modernization in terms of equipment. To update us technologically, for the customs to be a technology-driven institution, so that we can automate and eliminate all opportunities for corruption.
Or most of it
human
anyway.
Intervention, or most of it. Kasi kailangan talaga ng full support in terms of resources.
Yes.
In fact, isa doon sa idea na na-pick up din natin sa ibang bansa na we were toying around with here, is to give the Bureau of Customs the authority to utilize a percentage of its collections for technology projects, modernization projects. Kasi pwede naman yun bigyan lang sila ng kahit na limited authority. For example, 3% of the annual collection is a big thing already. pwede yan gawin for a period of 3 to 5 years. No? By that time, immediately, gawin na lahat ng automation projects, matatapos in 2 years.
Okay.
Pwede yun eh.
Alright.
So, pwedeng ma-fast track pa rin.
Okay. Very, very quick answers to the following questions. When you were Customs Commissioner, did you reach your revenue targets?
Well, the revenue target, we fell short, really.
Okay.
No? The Bureau of Customs has
Malaki ba?
not-
Malaki? I mean, anong percentage ang kulang?
Up to about 10%.
Okay.
Actually, the Bureau of Customs has not reached its target for the past 7 years.
Okay.
Dito siguro kailangan nga, one, i-review yung target setting procedures natin. No? And see if it would still be relevant, no? Na ang Bureau of Customs should be a revenue considered mainly a revenue collecting agency. Kasi ang environment natin ngayon under our agreements, no, in the World Trade Organization, tariff rates are falling. So every year bumababa yan. No?
Okay.
Like in 2010, ang foregone revenue namin was about a little over 40 billion. In 2011, it was about 50. In 2013, umaabot ng 60. No? So every year tumataas yan. And by 2015, yung ASEAN Economic Integration, zero levels na mga tariff. No? Kumbaga, yung source na pinagkukunan mo, nawawala. No?
Okay.
And in other countries, of course, sa policy nila yun. Ano? Pero in other countries, yung customs pa nga does not have a revenue target to speak of. No? Inalis na nila doon yung pressure ng revenue collection. So, baka yun, later on, pwedeng mapag-aralan ng government. Ano? But as of now, the policy is, Customs is the second revenue collecting agency.
Okay.
And I hope really that we will be able to look into it, no, kung how realistic yung targets that are set for the Bureau of Customs.
Okay, now here's a question that only a former Commissioner of the Bureau of Customs can answer. Kasi nakikita natin to sa dyaryo. And this is something which I questioned also because I made commentaries about this in my radio program. Is it true na you were quoted as saying something like you are being pressured by powerful forces or individuals or institutions? Did you say something like that?
No, that was someone else. No? But what I said was it is an occurrence, but I never experienced it.
Okay. Kasi iniisip ko, teka muna, meron pang mas tataas pa sa presidente? I mean, kung in-appoint ka ng presidente, and yun ang backer mo, who are you talking about?
Well, actually, dapat talaga ang Commissioner of Customs should have the full backing of the President.
And you had his full backing?
Yes.
From day one to the time he resigned?
Yes.
So it was with deep regret that he accepted your resignation. Ganun na nga.
Well, he still had the confidence. But yung pressure is there. No? And, well, I never experienced it.
Okay.
Pero anecdotal, no? Even yung mga predecessors or previous, I know that there were pressures on them. No? Yun na lang magpasok ng tao doon sa bureau.
Okay.
And I've been in Congress for 9 years. Prior to being congressman, I was chief of staff to my father, Senator Biason, for another 9 years. And it's common knowledge that
Papasok ang mga
ang legislators, congressmen, senators, sometimes nakikiusap. But ako, I never experienced being pressured.
Good.
So I think it's one thing na naging advantage during my time.
So
because I'm a colleague of the members of Congress.
Okay, so it was the deputy commissioner, I think, who made that comment.
Yes.
Na he was being pressured by big, great forces or some. Kaya doon ako
that's
okay, well, I'm glad
the
it's not.
statement.
But I'm glad it's not you because I'm just.
But on the other hand, I could also be creating enemies by being like that. By not succumbing to pressure.
So nakakatanggap ka rin ng mga tawag. Without a doubt, we don't even have to discuss that further. Pero without a doubt, syempre as Customs Commissioner, I mean, you're talking about very, very big money here. And siyempre, yung mga politiko or some interests who know you or who might have some influence over your position, siyempre, makakatanggap ka ng tawag, text, email, whatever. Probably hindi email. Probably a personal call or a visit.
Sa experience ko nung sa Congress, maraming mga heads of agencies ang nabubugbog during budget hearings.
Doon talaga, bumabawi sila ron.
Hindi ko na-experience yun.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. So, one quick question. If you could do it all over again, would you do it all over again? Let's just say, Commissioner, itong darating na Pangulo, kung sino man siya, sabihin sa'yo, Rufy Biazon, gusto ko maging Customs Commissioner ka ulit. Tatanggapin mo ba?
Hindi na.
Really?
Hindi na.
Bakit hindi?
I believe that a person should only pass that road once.
Ganun ba?
Wag na bumalik, wag na babalik.
No, but with your knowledge, with your insight, with your experience, this is far-fetched, but kung ma-reappoint ka, di ba mas marami kang magagawang kabutihan? And,
maraming reforms na pwedeng gawin, pero hindi lahat kaya lang ng Commissioner of Customs.
Okay.
Speaking from experience. Hindi lahat ng reforms kayang gawin ng Commissioner alone.
Okay. One last question. If you were the appointing power, what kind of individual would you appoint as a Customs Commissioner? Yan na po ang last question natin.
Well, of course,
if you were the appointing power.
Ang principal consideration would be integrity. Second, yung creativity. And third, yung resistance to pressure, yung kakayahan niya to resist pressure. And if I were the appointing authority, definitely yung choice ko, I would put my full support behind him because that's the only way na magsasucceed siya.
You had all of that.
Well, yun na nga. Kaya nga, yung resignation ko nga did not have anything to do with my function.
Okay. And before we go, you may or may not, can you name a person right now, if you're the appointing power, ito ang i-appoint ko? Of course, andyan na, with all due respect to the current commissioner, kung meron kang i-appoint ngayon na sa taong bayan, sinong i-appoint mo? Please name a name. Sige na, please.
Mahirap eh.
Short list.
I love my friends too much to give them the headache.
Okay. Well, at least we end up on a high note. We end up on a high note. Ako, meron akong, I was thinking, aside from all of your qualities, I think I may be mistaken, but I'm almost sure I'm correct in this. Baka masyado ka mabait, Rufy.
Well, I've heard that before. Sabi na dapat daw
may kill instinct. Hindi naman literally kill, pero kailangan merong,
marami ring barumbadong na-appoint na naging tarantado.
Wala rin nangyari.
So
it became worse.
It's not in the matigas ba o matapang ba. It's in the integrity and moral values of the person.
Okay, well anyway, maraming salamat, Rufy, for that insight. And maraming salamat po. And God bless the Bureau of Customs. God bless the President and all of his men. And we hope and pray during the last 2 years ay magtagumpay siya ng gusto sa matuwid na daan na pinag-uusapan niya. At syempre po, this is not just his matuwid na daan. Matuwid na daan po nating lahat ito. So until next week, I'm Jerry Cornell. Thank you very much for staying with us during the past hour. I love you. God bless you. Bye-bye.